Did you know over 400,000 people left major Canadian cities in the last 3 years alone? And we're not talking about tourists or short-term movers. We're talking about families, professionals, and even retirees who've packed up and walked away from places once considered the most desirable in the country. But why are people abandoning cities like Vancouver, Toronto, and Halifax at record rates? The truth is, Canada's urban dream is starting to crack. Soaring rent, dangerous wildfires, rising crime, collapsing infrastructure, and job markets that no longer make sense. These are just a few of the urgent red flags being ignored. And if you think your city is safe, you might be in for a shock. In this video, we're counting down 10 Canadian cities you should consider leaving before 2026, not just because of what's happening today, but because of where things are heading fast. Stick around. Some of these may really surprise you. Number 1. Vancouver. Vancouver might be one of the most beautiful cities in Canada, but behind the scenic mountains and ocean views lies a crisis that's pushing thousands to leave. The cost of living here has reached staggering new heights, with the average home price hovering well over $1.2 million, and that's for something modest. According to a 2024 Housing Affordability Report, Vancouver is now considered one of the least affordable cities in the world, even beating out places like San Francisco and London. But it's not just home ownership that's the problem. Rents are climbing fast, food prices are up, and day-to-day life feels like it's made for millionaires only. What's making this worse is the widening wealth gap. While tech executives and foreign investors drive prices even higher, everyday residents, nurses, teachers, tradespeople are being priced out of the city they grew up in. Public services are strained, homelessness has surged, and even middle-class families are now relying on food banks. The city's charm is fading fast for those who can't afford to live here comfortably, which is why so many are quietly packing up and heading to smaller, more livable places in the province. If you've been feeling the financial pressure in Vancouver, you're not imagining it, and you're definitely not alone. Experts are already warning that the city's housing market is in dangerous territory, and the current path is unsustainable for most residents. If you're someone who's working harder than ever just to stay afloat, it might be time to ask, what are you really getting for your money? Because in Vancouver, the cost of staying may soon outweigh the cost of leaving. Number 2. Toronto. Toronto may be the heartbeat of Canada's economy and culture, but lately, that heartbeat is feeling more like a pounding headache. Once considered a land of opportunity, Toronto is now drowning in high living costs, endless traffic, and a housing bubble that many experts say is on the verge of bursting. In fact, the average price for a detached home has crossed the $1.4 million mark, and even renting a one-bedroom apartment now costs over $2,500 a month. What's worse is that wages haven't kept pace, leaving many residents financially stretched, mentally burned out, and desperately trying to make ends meet. This economic imbalance is fueling what researchers call a youth exodus, a growing trend of young adults leaving Toronto for smaller cities where life is more affordable and less chaotic. A recent RBC report from 2025 revealed that over 40% of millennials and Gen Z residents in the GTA plan to relocate within the next 5 years. It's not just about the money, either. People are exhausted by the long commutes, the packed transit systems, and a lifestyle that demands constant hustle with little return. The city's once promised energy and opportunity are being replaced by stress, burnout, and an overwhelming sense of being stuck. If you're living in Toronto and constantly questioning whether all this pressure is worth it, you're not being dramatic, you're seeing the signs. While Toronto still offers world-class dining, diversity, and career potential in some industries, the reality is that it's becoming a city that works only for the wealthy or the lucky. For everyone else, the question becomes, is it worth sacrificing your mental health, savings, and time just to say you live in Toronto? For many, the answer is increasingly becoming no. Number 3. Kelowna. Kelowna has long been painted as a peaceful escape. Wineries, lakes, mountains, and sunshine almost year-round. But beneath that postcard-perfect lifestyle is a growing threat that's making experts warn residents to think twice about staying. Over the past few years, Kelowna has become one of the most wildfire-prone regions in the entire country, with multiple summers filled with thick smoke, evacuations, and destroyed homes. Climate researchers have repeatedly noted that the Okanagan Valley is warming faster than the global average, creating the perfect conditions for longer, more destructive fire seasons. And it's not only the flames that are the issue. The lingering smoke has caused dangerous air quality levels that can last for weeks at a time, affecting everything from lung health to daily outdoor activities. Beyond the climate risks, the cost of living in Kelowna has skyrocketed. What used to be an affordable alternative to Vancouver has now become one of the most competitive housing markets in British Columbia. Prices have surged as remote workers, retirees, and investors all flood into the area, driving up rent and home values beyond what many local workers can manage. Combine that with rising insurance costs, especially for homes in high-risk fire zones, and many longtime residents are feeling financially squeezed in a city that once promised a simpler life. Even groceries and essentials have seen noticeable price jumps, creating a growing divide between those who can afford the new Kelowna lifestyle and those who can't. If you've lived in Kelowna for a while, you've probably felt the shift, not just in the weather, but in the overall atmosphere. Summers that used to mean beaches and hiking are now associated with evacuation alerts and smoke advisories. And with experts predicting even more extreme conditions in the coming years, residents are asking themselves a tough question. Is the beauty of Kelowna worth the constant uncertainty? For some, the answer is changing fast. Number 4. Edmonton. Edmonton has always been proud of its blue-collar roots, booming oil industry, and strong community spirit. But in recent years, cracks have started to show, and for many residents, those cracks are turning into deal-breakers. At the core of Edmonton's growing challenges is its economic instability, tied closely to the volatile oil and gas sector. When oil prices dip, so does job security, and this boom and bust cycle has made life unpredictable for thousands of families. According to a 2024 labor report, the city's unemployment rate has remained consistently above the national average, and many skilled workers are finding it harder to secure long-term, stable employment. This uncertainty is triggering what experts are calling a brain drain, as more and more young professionals, recent graduates, and entrepreneurs are leaving Edmonton in search of better opportunities in cities with more diversified economies. The tech sector, which once promised to bring fresh energy to the city, hasn't grown at the pace many hoped. Meanwhile, infrastructure projects and public services are struggling to keep up, leaving residents frustrated with delayed transit upgrades, aging roads, and strained healthcare services. It's not just about jobs. It's about the overall quality of life feeling like it's stuck in a loop while other cities are evolving. If you're in Edmonton and you've noticed friends or family moving away, you're not imagining it. The pressure is real, and so is the concern about the city's future. While Edmonton still offers affordable housing compared to other major cities, the lack of long-term economic security is pushing people to reconsider staying. If your career options feel limited, or if you're constantly worried about your job disappearing with the next downturn in oil, it might be time to ask yourself, is Edmonton still worth betting your future on? For many, the answer is becoming less certain every year. Number 5. Surrey. Surrey is one of Canada's fastest-growing cities, but that explosive growth is starting to feel more like a ticking time bomb than a success story. In just a few short years, Surrey's population has ballooned, but the infrastructure hasn't kept pace. Roads are overloaded, schools are overflowing, and hospitals are overwhelmed. A 2025 report from BC's Ministry of Municipal Affairs revealed that Surrey's public services are operating well beyond capacity, with projected shortfalls in everything from emergency response times to school space for incoming students. It's a city growing faster than it can handle, and it's the residents who are paying the price. Traffic congestion in Surrey is now some of the worst in the Lower Mainland, and commuting even short distances can feel like a daily battle. Public transit expansion has lagged behind, despite years of planning and political promises. For families, things are even more concerning. Classrooms are packed, waiting lists for doctors are getting longer, and many neighborhoods feel like they're in a constant state of construction without ever catching up. Residents report feeling like the city is always 5 years behind where it needs to be, and that gap is only widening as more people move in every month. If you're living in Surrey and constantly asking, why does everything feel so difficult? It's because the city is growing without a sustainable foundation. While Surrey offers more affordable housing compared to Vancouver, That affordability comes with trade-offs, daily frustration, delays, and a sense that things just aren't working the way they should. Experts warn that unless major investments are made quickly, Surrey could become one of Canada's most overburdened cities. So the question becomes, do you stay and wait for things to catch up, or move somewhere that's already prepared for the future? Before we dive into the next city, take a second to drop a comment. Which of these cities shocked you the most so far? We read every one, and your insights help others too. And hey, if you appreciate the effort we put into bringing you content like this, hit that subscribe button. It's just one click, but it keeps us going. Number 6. Montreal. Montreal has always been celebrated for its vibrant culture, historic charm, and European flair. But beneath that charm is a growing tension that's driving both locals and newcomers to reconsider calling it home. At the center of the issue are tightening language laws that are beginning to reshape the city's identity and economy in a big way. Recent changes to Quebec's Bill 96 have placed strict new regulations on English usage in workplaces, schools, and even healthcare, creating barriers not just for immigrants, but also for longtime residents working in bilingual environments. These changes have sparked concern across industries, particularly among business owners and professionals who rely on flexibility and accessibility. This shift isn't just a cultural one, it's affecting Montreal's economy. Several tech companies and startups have already relocated to more business-friendly cities, citing the language restrictions as a limiting factor for growth and innovation. A 2025 report from the Quebec Employers Council showed a noticeable decline in external investments in Montreal, especially in sectors that typically attract international talent. Many young professionals now feel like they're hitting a ceiling, unable to access opportunities unless they're fully fluent in French. And for those who move to the city expecting an open, cosmopolitan experience, the recent policy changes have come as a sharp reality check. If you're living in Montreal and working in a bilingual or global industry, you've likely felt the squeeze. The city is still beautiful and full of life, but for many, the professional and social restrictions are starting to outweigh the perks. And with language laws likely to become even stricter, it's no longer just about preference. It's about whether you can truly thrive in a place that's limiting how you work, communicate, and grow. For some, the answer is leading them elsewhere. Number 7. Winnipeg. Winnipeg has always been seen as a city with grit, affordable housing, strong local culture, and a sense of resilience. But over the last few years, something has shifted. Winnipeg is now consistently ranked among the most dangerous cities in Canada, with violent crime rates rising at an alarming pace. According to the latest data from Statistics Canada, the city's violent crime severity index has increased by over 20% since 2020, and many neighborhoods that were once considered safe are now experiencing daily reports of assaults, thefts, and drug-related incidents. For residents, it's becoming harder to feel secure in their own communities. This rise in crime has had a ripple effect throughout the city. Small businesses are closing early, downtown foot traffic is shrinking, and families are increasingly reluctant to let their kids play outside after dark. Many Winnipeggers say they've noticed a change in the overall energy of the city, a growing tension and lack of trust. Emergency services are stretched thin, and some residents report waiting hours for police response even during serious incidents. What's more troubling is that the root causes, poverty, homelessness, and drug addiction, continue to grow, with no clear plan from local leadership to address the crisis long-term. If you're a Winnipeg resident and you've found yourself checking over your shoulder more than usual, you're not alone, and you're not overreacting. The sense of community that once defined this city is being overshadowed by fear and frustration. While some areas remain relatively stable, the overall trend is worrying. The question more people are starting to ask is, how much longer can you wait for things to improve, and at what cost to your safety and peace of mind? For many, it's a risk they're no longer willing to take. Number 8. Victoria. Victoria has long been marketed as the perfect place to retire. Mild weather, ocean views, and a slower pace of life. But if you're not nearing retirement age, living in Victoria might feel less like a dream and more like a dead end. The city's economy is increasingly skewed towards serving an aging population, which has created a local job market that lacks diversity and upward mobility for younger professionals. According to a 2025 demographic study, The median age in Victoria is now over 45, and many services, industries, and policies are built around retirees, not working families or young adults trying to build a future. This imbalance is starting to show. Wages in Victoria remain relatively low, especially in sectors outside of healthcare and government, while the cost of living continues to soar. The real estate market, driven in part by out-of-province retirees and investors, has made home ownership nearly impossible for the average worker. Even rental prices have exploded, with limited availability and rising demand pushing people into cramped, overpriced units. At the same time, infrastructure struggles to keep up, and services like childcare and public transit lag far behind other cities of similar size. If you're in your 20s, 30s, or even early 40s and feeling stuck in Victoria, it's not just your imagination. The city is increasingly geared toward a very specific lifestyle, one that may not match your goals, your energy, or your financial reality. While Victoria remains a beautiful place to visit or retire, it's becoming less practical for those who still have careers to build, families to raise, or ambitions to chase. And if that's where you are in life, it might be time to ask, is Victoria holding you back more than it's helping you move forward? Number 9. Regina. Regina may have once held the promise of prairie prosperity, but that promise is quickly fading. The city is facing a troubling mix of economic stagnation and population slowdown, making it one of the few urban centers in Canada that feels like it's moving backward rather than forward. According to a 2025 provincial report, Regina's population growth has plateaued, with more people leaving than arriving. At the same time, job opportunities are shrinking, particularly in sectors like manufacturing, retail, and government services, which once served as the backbone of the local economy. This lack of momentum is causing younger residents to leave in search of better prospects elsewhere, leaving behind a shrinking talent pool and aging workforce. What's especially concerning is the lack of diversification in Regina's economic base. Unlike cities that have pivoted toward tech, green energy, or innovation hubs, Regina remains heavily dependent on outdated industries that aren't built for long-term growth. This puts the city at risk of further decline as global and national markets evolve. Public investment in infrastructure, housing, and education hasn't kept pace with the needs of a modern economy, and residents are starting to feel it, from limited healthcare access to deteriorating public spaces. The city that once prided itself on affordability and opportunity now feels increasingly left behind. If you live in Regina and feel like opportunities are drying up, you're not alone. Many families are realizing that while the cost of living may be lower, the trade-off is fewer chances to advance, fewer cultural experiences, and a slower pace that can eventually feel suffocating. Without bold new direction or investment, Regina risks becoming a place people remember fondly, but no longer choose to stay. And if you're someone with ambitions, now may be the time to consider whether this city can still support your future. Number 10. Halifax. Halifax has been one of Canada's rising stars in recent years, attracting students, remote workers, and families from across the country with its scenic coastline, growing job market, and East Coast charm. But this sudden popularity has come at a cost. In just a few years, Halifax has gone from affordable to unaffordable, and the city is now facing a severe housing crisis. According to a 2025 housing report, the rental vacancy rate in Halifax is under 1%, and the average rent has nearly doubled since 2020. Residents are being pushed out of their neighborhoods, young people are struggling to find places to live, and homelessness is visibly on the rise. The city's infrastructure hasn't caught up with its population growth either. Public transportation remains underdeveloped, traffic congestion is getting worse, and access to health care is becoming a growing concern, especially as wait times in emergency rooms and for family doctors have continued to increase. Schools are overcrowded, and local services are stretched thin, creating a sense of frustration and fatigue among longtime residents. Many who moved to Halifax expecting a slower, more peaceful lifestyle are now finding themselves in a city grappling with big city problems, but without big city solutions in place. If you're living in Halifax and noticing how quickly the quality of life has changed, you're not alone. What was once a hidden gem is now struggling to keep up with the demand, and those caught in the middle are paying the price. While Halifax still has a lot to offer, The current pace of growth without sustainable planning is pushing people out faster than they arrived. So the question becomes, is it still worth staying in a city that's becoming more crowded, more expensive, and less livable with each passing year? Canada is changing, and fast. While many of these cities were once seen as places to grow, thrive, and settle down, today they face challenges that can no longer be ignored. From climate risks and crumbling infrastructure to soaring housing costs and shrinking opportunities, the warning signs are everywhere. And while leaving a city isn't an easy decision, sometimes it's the smartest one for your future, your family, and your peace of mind. But here's the thing, this video isn't about fear. It's about awareness. Because the more you know, the better you can plan for what's next. Whether you're already thinking of moving or just starting to question the direction your city is heading, now is the time to be honest with yourself. Ask the tough questions. Look at the facts. And most importantly, don't wait until it's too late to make a move. Before you go, we'd love to hear from you. Is your city changing for better or worse? Drop a comment and tell us what you're seeing where you live. Your story could help someone else make a life-changing decision. If you found value in this video, please consider supporting our work. We put hours of research and effort into every video to bring you real, useful information. So do us a quick favor, subscribe to the channel. It's just one click for you, but it means the world to us.